Six Flags Magic Mountain is the standout jewel in the crown theme park of the Six Flags amusement park chain. With 20 operating roller coasters, it is the theme park in the world that has the most operating current roller coasters. Now, over the past few weeks and months, Six Flags Magic Mountain has continued to tease at the fact that they might be adding to that coaster collection with the new addition of a potential GIGA coaster. A GIGA coaster is any coaster over 300 feet, and could this actually be a real possibility for the park, or are the admins and owners of the park sort of just winding us up, teasing the fans, and this isn't a real true possibility? Let's find out in today's video then. So welcome to Coasternaut, and if you enjoy this video, please do give it a like and subscribe for future updates and videos on American theme parks and roller coasters in the future. Please give the video a like if you enjoy, it massively helps out the channel. So then, Valencia, California, that is the home of Six Flags Magic Mountain, a very nice area, and it is a very nice park with, like I say, 20 operating roller coasters. If no park in the world has more coasters operating than Six Flags Magic Mountain. They have a coaster for everything really. They've got a fantastic collection of both junior and thrilling coasters. They have launch coasters, they have wooden coasters, they have flying coasters, they have hyper coasters already. They have absolutely everything. The standouts for me would be obviously Twisted Colossus, X2, Wonder Woman Flight of Courage, potentially Apocalypse the Ride. These are fantastic coasters from the likes of RMC, Premier Rides. They've got GCI. They have, like I say, a coaster for everything. But one thing they don't have is that infamous GIGA coaster. Now, this is, like I say, the standout park, sort of the jewel in the crown of the Six Flags chain, in the same way that Cedar Point is for Cedar Fair. However, would this potentially be the park within the chain that would get a GIGA coaster if Six Flags Park was to ever get a GIGA coaster? If we look at the other GIGA coasters that are out there right now, the majority of them are actually within the Cedar Fair chain. We have multiple B&M GIGAs, such as a Orion and Fury 325. However, also at King's Dominion, you've got the Intamin GIGA, Intimidator 305. Obviously, you've got the original GIGA, Millennium Force, which is also from Intamin at Cedar Point. And then, we have the Morgan GIGA in Japan, Steel Dragon 2000. So there are a few different manufacturers that could potentially get a GIGA. However, realistically, if we're talking about a GIGA, it's probably going to be from B&M or Intamin. Now, we have seen recently that Six Flags is working with both of these manufacturers. They've recently added the new Intamin water coaster coming to Six Flags over Georgia, a world's first. So, we can see they're working with Intamin again. That's fantastic. Intamin have got some very good coasters in the past few years, such as Velocicoaster, Teases, and others. So it's good to see that we're finally working with Intamin. Admittedly, this is only a water coaster coming to over Georgia. However, that could be the start of a relationship that shows Six Flags are willing to potentially add some new Intamin thrill coasters again in the future. It's been a long time since they worked with Intamin, so this would be fantastic. Also in recent years as well, B&M. Six Flags have not worked with B&M for a very long time. However, Six Flags Fiesta Texas recently got Dr. Diabolical's Cliffhanger, the B&M dive coaster, and it was actually a record-breaking dive coaster. It was the first dive coaster to have a beyond vertical drop with a 95-degree angle first drop. So they are working with B&M, and they're actually creating some record-breaking rides with B&M. So these are some of the biggest coaster manufacturers anywhere in the world, and now Six Flags is working with these chains again. So the two most likely candidates for a GIGA coaster, we know Six Flags is working with these two coaster manufacturers again and have at least a somewhat decent relationship. We obviously don't know the ins and outs of the relationships that the park holds with these manufacturers, but you can imagine it's quite good because there's not really been any problems with Cliffhanger, or at least that I'm aware of, and they're now going for a world's first coaster with Intamin. So I imagine the relationship between these manufacturers and the chain is actually quite good, and there's always the potential to add new coasters from these manufacturers to the Six Flags chain parks again. So what have we actually heard about this potential GIGA? So I think the original tease came on Twitter, or X now as we call it, where Six Flags was sort of tweeting out things like, yeah, Goliath is cool, but how about a GIGA? And GIGA was all in caps, and they've done a few other teasers since then on Twitter and other social media platforms like that, where they've included GIGA in words, but the GIGA is all in caps, or it might be the first letter of 3 or 4 sentences is GIGA, so it spells out GIGA when you take the first letter of each sentence. So they are clearly hinting at a GIGA coaster coming to the park. Now, Admittedly, social media accounts like to troll, and I know the Six Flags admin on social media has trolled about coasters before, but once again, you know, similar to Alton Towers teasing the RMC recently, why would the admins be teasing enthusiasts with a potential Giga coaster? You know, this is something the park owners must know would get fans super hyped, and you know, if they're hyping this Giga, and then eventually when it comes to adding a new coaster, it's, you know, a new junior coaster or just another coaster that fans aren't massively overwhelmed with, then I think that could lead to a lot of backlash, you know. I think part of a marketing chain for a new coaster is you're supposed to hype up the new edition, make fans and enthusiasts and guests excited for whatever is coming next, and yeah, you know, getting a bit of publicity for the park and teasing a Giga is never a bad thing, I suppose. However, if they're, like I say, consistently doing this, which they have been now for the past few weeks and months, and then it turns out, you know, their new coaster is, you know, just an ordinary coaster that we've seen, maybe a clone coaster at other parks, or not on a very exciting layout, I can see fans not being very happy with that, because it, you know, it appears that they were telling fans that, you know, you're getting a Giga coaster, and if they won't get that, I can't see that going down well. So, you know, there is real possibility in this. You know, we heard recently that for the 50th anniversary, Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey was planning a Giga coaster. Those plans were unfortunately cancelled, I think partly due to the pandemic and monetary restraints, but also Salim Basul, the new Six Flags owner, he's came in, and a lot of people weren't happy with his choices. He decided to stop adding new coaster additions, focus on sort of making smaller additions to the park and trying to sort of bring money in that way in terms of increasing revenue by not making big investments into parks. He's realised that hasn't worked, and has now announced that they will be making new coaster additions into the parks again, because, you know, by putting investment in, you will get a larger return out. So, you know, those plans were admittedly cancelled, or at least delayed for Great Adventure, but could it have been moved to Magic Mountain? You know, Great Adventure is one of the bigger parks in the chain, but Magic Mountain is probably the biggest park in the chain. So there's always the possibility that this could happen. Six Flags is sort of known as the discount budget chain in comparison to Cedar Fair. They aren't known for spending more than maybe like $15 million US dollars on a coaster, and, you know, from what we can tell from the other Gigas, most of them sort of cost sort of $25 to $30 million. So, you know, it would be a much larger investment than the park is used to. But over the past few years, Six Flags haven't been making many investments into the park, so maybe they've got a bit more money stored up. So potentially it is a viability, and once again, you know, this would sort of help out in the battle between Cedar Point and Magic Mountain over which is the better park, which has the better coaster collection. Energylandia, you know, they've currently got 17 coasters, building 3 more to take them in line with Magic Mountain, currently having 20 operating coasters. So if they were to build a new coaster, that would keep them ahead of Energylandia in terms of the most operating coasters anywhere in the world. So it is a possibility. And one final thing I'll say is, obviously when we think of a Giga, we're thinking of the traditional sort of out and back layout full of big airtime hills and everything, but could we sort of be seeing a discount version of a Giga? And what I mean by that is, Six Flags are known for sort of doing these coasters which, you know, it might be over 300 foot tall but has a very short layout. You know, we're talking of this as, you know, being an out and back layout. Could this be a Giga dive coaster or a Giga tilt coaster, something like that, which, you know, takes you over the 300 foot mark but then instantly gets you sort of a tiny very short layout back into the brake run sort of thing? You know, similar to what we've seen with Project Exodus here in the UK with Thorpe Park, that, you know, gets you over 200 foot, and don't get me wrong, it looks like it's going to be a very intense, very amazing layout, but it is a very short layout. You're going to be whipping through those elements, then you're straight back into the brake run. Could this be something like that where, you know, the park doesn't have to spend as much money in terms of designing a new ride and buying lots of steel and supports and having to build a new coaster? Because also Magic Mountain doesn't have much space. I imagine if this was to be a Giga, it would probably have to go somewhere out into the parking lot. You know, or could this follow the terrain? Could it sort of go up the hill, so on one side you're not really building many supports, and then dive down the hill, because obviously Magic Mountain is built on a mountain, hence the name, and then sort of follow the terrain. So, you know, maybe it's only 150 feet, 200 feet tall, however the drop is 300 feet, making it a Giga coaster, similar to what Orion did. You know, that wasn't a 300 foot tall lift hill, but the drop was over 300 foot, making it a Giga coaster. So what do you think on this topic? Do you think Magic Mountain will get a Giga coaster, or do you think the admins online are just teasing us? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. If it was to be a Giga coaster, would it be a traditional one, sort of out and back airtime filled layout? Would it be from B&M Intamin, or would it be something completely different? I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback down below. Please like the video if you enjoyed, it massively helps out the channel. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching.